Hello, welcome back to another breaking news update. My name is Jimmy Boyd, and you were watching Boyd News. Want to thank you so much for tuning in today. All right, guys, I'm back with more updates out of the Middle East, and I want to give you more information as to if the U.S. is going to respond and retaliate on Iran for earlier firing ballistic missiles at the Al-Udeid airbase in Qatar. And the information that I have today from CNN possibly indicates the U.S. is going to try to find an off ramp or an outlet to get out of this situation, and they're most likely not going to respond, but we'll see what happens. Take a look at your screen here. Trump may be backing off options to retaliate on Iran for U.S. base attacks. U.S. President Donald Trump does not want more military engagement in the Middle East, reported CNN. This came nearly an hour after Iran attacked military bases of the U.S. in Qatar and Iraq. Okay, so yeah, this is what CNN is reporting today, that Trump apparently does not want to be more militarily involved in the Middle East, and he's looking for a way out now. And Trump did release some statements on Truth Social today. I'll show that to you guys and all the information that I've got behind this story. Let's go ahead and jump right into this. We're going to hop on over here to Suppressed News on X. Breaking: Trump does not seek further military involvement in the Middle East. A senior White House official told CNN that the Trump administration expected Tehran to retaliate after U.S. airstrikes on Iranian nuclear sites over the weekend. While Trump does not want further military engagement in the Middle East, the official said he is willing to escalate U.S. involvement if necessary. Source was CNN. So this was Trump in the Situation Room while these strikes were being carried out onto the Al-Udeid Air Base today. Here's the Vice President as well, J.D. Vance. Here's a report from CNN, and it says Trump administration was anticipating retaliation from Iran, White House official says. The Trump administration was anticipating Tehran would retaliate after U.S. strikes on Iranian nuclear sites over the weekend. The president does not want more military engagement in the region, senior White House official told CNN today. We knew they'd retaliate. They had a similar response after Soleimani. The official said, referring to Qasem Soleimani, the Iranian commander killed in a U.S. strike in 2020. The official said initial assessments were that the missiles fired by the Iranians on Monday didn't hit their intended targets. Qatar's defense ministry said its air defenses intercepted an Iranian missile attack on the U.S. airbase in the country. President Donald Trump is willing to escalate U.S. military involvement if necessary, the official said. Trump was due to talk to national security officials Monday afternoon, and it is possible his posture could change. Yeah, so we don't know for sure if the U.S. is going to fire back at Iran or not, but it looks like right now maybe they won't do anything, and I think it really matters on whether Iran is going to retaliate again. Okay, let's say they launch another attack onto another base, and maybe hopefully this wouldn't happen, but let's say a U.S. Service member gets injured or killed or something like that, then the U.S. would definitely have to respond. Or if a base gets damaged or blown up in some sort of way, I think they would respond. But right now, after this attack, considering that it for the most part was thwarted, that's why I think Trump is looking at this as an outlet for right now. Now, Mario Nawfal, U.S. military, reports Iran only went for Qatar. The rest was hype, not fire. A U.S. military official just confirmed what the radar screens already knew. Iran only fired at Al-Udeid Air Base in Qatar. No hits, no damage, just a bunch of intercepted missiles and some very awake defense crews. Other U.S. bases on edge, sure, like Ain al-Assad, in Iraq, which lit up its air defenses just in case. No strikes actually landed. So while the headlines made it sound like World War III, Iran kept the real action limited and mostly symbolic. The source was Reuters. Yeah, so according to this information too, really all they went after directly was the Al-Udeid Air Base. That's the only U.S. asset or target in the Middle East that Iran went after, okay? Now from Scott Jennings, a true, complete, and total capitulation and vindication for President Trump's strategy here. And take a look at this. I think this was from like Newsweek or something, and this is a mainstream news article. It says Iran coordinated the attacks on the American airbase in Qatar with Qatari officials and gave advance notice that attacks were coming to minimize casualties. According to 3 Iranian officials familiar with the plans, the officials said Iran symbolically needed to strike back at the U.S., but at the same time carried out in a way that allowed all sides an exit ramp. They described it as a similar strategy to 2020 when Iran gave Iraq heads up before firing ballistic missiles at American base in Iraq following the assassination of its top general. Okay, so kind of the same thing what we saw in 2020 according to this information here. And it looks like Like Iran was trying to set up a situation where they're like, well, we have to respond now because our nuclear facilities were attacked. They supposedly let the Qatari officials know ahead of time that they were going to attack them. That way they could have all their air defense systems set up, which we clearly saw that everything was shot down. So it looks like this was a whole scene here that was set up to make it appear as if Iran was retaliating and got their retaliation for the U.S. striking their nuclear facilities over the weekend. And Qatar was ready to just basically intercept all these missiles that were being fired. Now for Max 25, Trump confirms that Iran gave advance notice to the U.S. before the attack. Yeah, I want to show you guys these. These are posts from Trump on True Social. Here's one of them. It says Iran has officially responded to our obliteration of their nuclear facilities with a very weak response, which we expected, and have very effectively countered. There have been 14 missiles fired, 13 were knocked down, and one was set free because it was headed in a non-threatening direction. I am pleased to report that no Americans were harmed and hardly any damage was done. Most importantly, they've gotten it all out of their system, and there will hopefully be no further hate. I want to thank Iran for giving us early notice, which made it possible for no lives to be lost and nobody to be injured. Perhaps Iran can now proceed to peace and harmony in the region, and I will enthusiastically encourage Israel to do the same. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Donald J. Trump, President of the United States. Now, whether, Iran actually gave previous notice or not, I guess it doesn't really matter, but that's what Trump is stating here, that the Iranians did let them know ahead of time, and that's possibly creating this off-ramp and outlet for Iran and the U.S. to get out of this situation safely without having more escalation. Here's one more post he put out as well. Donald J. Trump on True Social. Again, I'd like to thank the highly respected Emir of Qatar for all that he has done in seeking peace for the region. Regarding the attack today at the American base in Qatar, I am pleased to report that in addition to no Americans being killed or wounded, very importantly, there have also been no Qataris killed or wounded. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Okay, so that is very good news, guys. No Americans were killed or wounded in these attacks. Same with Qataris citizens as well. So that's amazing news to hear. And looks like the airbase was not damaged as well. I haven't heard any reports of that. Only a rocket or a missile apparently that had landed in an open field. They let it go through, but it was apparently only one based on what I'm hearing. Now, World Source News 24/7, breaking con news. Israel seeks to conclude Iran war this weekend. No regime change planned. Okay, we've been hearing this for a couple days now that Israel's trying to get this war over with in like the next week. So apparently they want this war to end, conclude this weekend. So I'm assuming by the end of the week maybe. And they're not planning to change the regime inside of Iran. Now, Ozen defenders so far: Bahrain, Kuwait, Oman, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Egypt, Morocco, Jordan, Lebanon, Turkey, Yemen, and the Palestinian Authority have all condemned tonight's ballistic missile attack by Iran against Al-Udeid Airbase in Qatar. Okay, so you can see here a lot of the Middle Eastern nations already coming out condemning this attack today. This is the list of all the nations that condemned it. Now from Max 25, Trump's approval rating falls to 41%, lowest of current term. Reuters reports an IPSOS poll. 79% of Americans worry Iran may target civilians, and I'm sure a lot of people are worried now because, in a way, we are on the verge of World War III. Hopefully, that would never happen. But the fact that the U.S. was over there striking Iran and trying to destroy their nuclear facilities, and we've got Iran firing back at American bases now. I mean, this thing is getting wildly out of control very quickly. I could see how that would affect Trump's approval ratings here, but that's what's being reported today, falling to 41%, his lowest of his current term. Now, Vicegrad 24 breaking: a senior Iranian official has told Reuters that Iran will continue its retaliation strikes in response to the American bunker buster strikes against Iran's nuclear sites. Okay, so apparently an Iranian official also claiming they're going to continue their retaliation strikes. And this is where it gets dangerous, because if they keep doing this and attacking more bases, the U.S. is going to get forced into responding. Now, again, that's why I wonder if Iran actually sent this message over to the U.S. and Qatar, letting them know they were going to carry out these strikes, because now they're stating they're going to continue these attacks. So hopefully that's not going to be the case. Hopefully we see de-escalation over here and not more escalation, because this could definitely lead to a major war if it continues, and we'll see if it ends up stopping here soon. Now, World Source News 24/7 breaking: huge explosions in Tehran in recent minutes. So this came out within like the 30-minute hour mark after these strikes, or these missiles were heading over to Al-Udeid Airbase, Apparently, Israel was flying over there and dropping bombs on Tehran again. That's what was being reported here. Because I've got this also from World Source News 24/7. Breaking IDF military radio reports the Israeli Air Force is currently attacking Tehran. Okay, so I don't have any videos out of there, but allegedly the Israeli Air Force was carrying out strikes on the capital of Iran, known as Tehran. Now, Vice Grad 24 breaking suicide drones launched at U.S. military base in Iraq. Okay, so apparently we did have a military base in Iraq that was under attack by at least one drone. But from what we were hearing, anything that was targeted at some of these bases in Iraq, they were taken down. So I'm assuming none of these suicide drones had carried out any damage at that military base that was attacked. Now, World Source News 24/7. Again, breaking U.S. statement on Iran. Al-Udeid Airbase was attacked by short-range and medium-range ballistic missiles originating from Iran today. At this time, there are no reports of U.S. casualties. We are monitoring the situation closely and will provide more information as it becomes available. Okay, so there's a statement coming out from the U.S. today. Okay, they're going to keep monitoring the situation. If more info comes out, they'll let everybody know. But it was attacked by short-range and medium-range ballistic missiles from Iran today. No casualties reported. Now, Oza Defender, what appears to be a section of the dual-pulse solid rocket motor on a Patriot PAC-3 MSE surface-to-air missile found in Qatar following tonight's Iranian ballistic missile attack against Al-Udeid Air Base. Yeah, here's a video coming out showing a piece of an interceptor from a Patriot missile that was being used to down these incoming ballistic missiles. Apparently these Patriots were very effective in shooting down a lot of these missiles that were targeting Qatar today. So there's a video coming out there. Now, Max 25, a situation in Tehran after the strikes on the American base in Qatar. Music in the streets, motorcyclists ride with flags. Unfortunately, I can't play this sound in this video because it is playing lots of music, and I might have issues with that here on YouTube if I were to do that. But we can see here lots of people out on the streets tonight and celebrating. If I did play it, you would hear lots of music coming out from Iran over here, and there's motorcyclists carrying flags celebrating this attack on the U.S. airbase, even though none of these missiles actually struck the base from what we're being told. Now for Max 25, Russia is ready to help Iran in the ongoing conflict in the Middle East, but first Tehran must formulate its demands, Peskov said. So Dmitry Peskov, the Kremlin spokesman, coming out reportedly and saying this today as well, that Russia's ready to help Iran, but they need to formulate what their demands are. Let Russia know what it is that you exactly need. They're willing to help, apparently, is what Peskov said today. That's very interesting. Now, Oza Defender, Bahrain, Kuwait, and the UAE have now reopened their airspaces following the Iranian ballistic missile attack against Al-Udeid Air Base in Qatar. Okay, so just an update here as well that the airspaces are now back open again. Bahrain, Kuwait, UAE, these were all nations in the Middle East that were closing down their airspace following the attack that was going on to the Al-Udeid Air Base earlier today. It looks like they are now back open for business and planes can start flying in again. Finally, our last update, legitimate targets. Breaking, Iran's foreign minister reiterates no negotiations with the U.S. Okay, so that's what the foreign minister, Abbas Araghchi, was saying right here to the U.S., responding to Donald Trump in response to these attacks that happened over the weekend on nuclear facilities. Okay, Trump ordered a bombing campaign of 3 nuclear sites inside of Iran on Saturday. And according to him, they're stating that they obliterated these nuclear sites and destroyed them with not only B-2 Spirit bombers dropping bunker buster bombs, but also they were using Tomahawk missiles on the Isfahan nuclear site. Apparently they fired something like 30 Tomahawk missiles over there and leveled that whole site. So yeah, now Iran's coming out saying they're not going to negotiate at all with the U.S., and I don't see that happening just considering that the U.S. carried out these strikes already. So still tensions remain very hot over here, and I'm going to continue to follow the situation. And if I get any other updates, I will let you guys know what is going on at a later time. And I want to thank you very much for tuning in for this update. If you got something out of this, please smash that like button. Also, if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing down below. Hit the notification bell. That way YouTube can notify you. And with that, hope you all have a great day. Everybody take care and God bless. And we'll see you in the next one.